Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You are at the pre-ACT information and Q&A session with Lisa Nelson, and I'm Annette Long, and we're at the Regents. I'm just going to give you a couple of friendly reminders. I think everybody make sure your microphone is muted, which it should have been when you entered. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We will be checking the chat as we go along. Lisa and I are both fine with getting questions as we go along. We don't need for you to wait till the end. So please put those in if we're talking about something and it brings up a question for you, type that in the chat. Or if you have the ability and you're comfortable, we're totally fine with you unmuting yourself. And I'm just going to interrupt for a second because I can't see the screen. Is it recording, Lisa?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. We're fine with you unmuting yourself and asking the question out loud. And again, you don't need to wait till the end. We're fine with that going along. So please complete the session feedback that you'll get, or it's on the website agenda or from the Whova app, and you'll receive a conference survey on March 11th. And thank you guys for attending and enjoy the session. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm not sure if any of you can unmute yourselves, but I did want to say this is primarily going to be a review. If you're already very familiar with the ordering process and with the reports that you will receive with your pre-ACT, then it's mostly just going to be a review of that. So if anybody did have any questions that you wanted to jump in with and didn't want to have to listen through that whole process, you feel free. We're fine with that. So I'll just go ahead and get started. So the Oklahoma State Regents student prep team, that's Lisa and myself, we offer the pre-ACT for all sophomores in the state. I want to make sure that everyone knows that you can administer the pre-ACT even if your school is giving the SAT. And in fact, I would encourage you to offer the pre-ACT if your school is giving the SAT, because most of our students in the state are going to go to college in the state, and we are an ACT testing state. So it's great to offer your students an opportunity to take an ACT test before they have a high stakes situation of taking the test. So this is our website, and we will be downloading these slides onto the Whova app for our session. Okay, so just some information. This is the website for the ordering. It's readiness.act.org. And this year only, the testing window has been expanded to May 28th. Generally, the testing window is from early September, usually right after Labor Day, to late November. It's generally about the Friday before the Thanksgiving break. This year, of course, because of all the uncertainty and distance learning, we wanted to give you all the maximum opportunity to give this opportunity for this test to your sophomores. So we just basically extended it through the entire school year so that you could work it in whatever way, whenever you could. Having said that, please go ahead and test as soon as you can. So I just want to walk through some things that come up each year as different schools order and some of the problems that come up. And again, if you are well versed in this, this might all be a review for you. So you're going to go to the readiness.org. You'll sign in for ordering, and you will click on pre-ACT, and it looks just like this. So then you will see the next page, you will see you're going to choose a program. So what you need to make sure you do is that drop down box, you're going to choose OK State Regents for higher ed, and then the year that it is, grade 10 only. If you do not see that, then you're not ordering within our ordering window, and you need to contact us. So what happens each year, we get a couple of phone calls from schools, not many, but there's some every year, and they wind up getting a bill because they ordered generally before our ordering window opened, and they probably choose standard or national pre-ACT, and then they wind up getting the bill because you're not ordering under our contract. So please make sure that you click on this right here If you do not, then again, you're not ordering under our contract and you will get a bill. So the next thing I want to bring up, this is problematic for some schools every year. You cannot use a PO box. ACT uses FedEx to deliver, and FedEx does not deliver to PO boxes. So pretty early on in the process of ordering, you click on that pre-ACT icon. You're going to log in. The login is the same as if you have an ACT account, it's the same login. You will click on your school at that point, and then you're going to click on an address. It has got to be a physical address. It cannot be a PO box. So even if your mailing address for your school is a PO box, you need to type in the physical location of your school, and hopefully that's already typed in there and it's in a drop down, and you can just choose that. Okay, the next reminder I want you guys to be aware of. So you're going to click through the process. You're going to type in, if you have 35 sophomores, you're going to type in that you're ordering, 35, and you're going to click through the process, click on checkout. It takes you to the review page, and then you need to remember to click on the I agree to the terms and conditions, and then you've got to click on place order. So they are not as big as it seems on this screen. It's very, very small, and I don't know why they won't make it bigger. Lisa asks them to every year so that you can see it better. But you've got to click on agree to terms and conditions. You've got to click on place order, and then you will get a confirmation page that comes up. There will be a confirmation number in the upper left side of the page. You can print this page if you want or save it, but what you need to know is you will immediately receive a confirmation email. And if you do not immediately receive the confirmation email, you didn't order correctly. So even if you see a confirmation page, you've got to get that email to know that your order went through. So if you don't receive it, be sure you check your spam. And again, if it's not there, then contact us because we'll help you figure out what went wrong. There's actually something on the back end of ACT where whatever process triggers an automatic confirmation email to you also triggers your order to go on to the next step. So make sure that you get that email. And so just so you're aware, there's also generally you should receive your ACT, your pre-ACT materials about 3 weeks after you order. And so you'll have a predicted kind of date or a date that you should be looking for your pre-ACT materials by FedEx. So a couple more things. Please open your box when you receive it. Do not wait until the pre-administration. You want to make sure that everything's in there that you'll need, that you're familiar with it. Please feel free to contact us when you receive your test materials. We can walk you through what's in your box. We'd be happy to do that. Another suggestion, have your students complete the pre-administration section before the day of the test because it will take a full class period. We don't want students to spend 60 or 70 minutes on that and then go into a 3-hour test. Just due to fatigue, we want them to be fresh so that they can have their opportunity to do their best on that pre-ACT test. So that pre-administration is those non-academic parts, the interest inventory and that kind of thing. So please have them do that before the day of the test. And you'll want to plan for 3 hours when you're testing with the pre-ACT. The administration manual gives you good guidance on how to plan for that. So we're going to go through some things to be aware of when you're returning your pre-ACT answer documents. So you've ordered correctly, your sophomores have tested, you're ready to return your documents. So you will receive a poly mailer. It looks just like this in all of your pre-ACT material when you order them. This is what you will return them in. You might get one or you might get more than one depending on how big your sophomore class is. So you need to return all of your answer documents back together, whether that's in one poly mailer or multiple poly mailers. There is a tracking number on here. You'll see that it is circled. please make sure that you either take a picture or write down that tracking number. I personally prefer to take a picture because then I know that's exactly what it is. I didn't make any mistakes when I was writing it down. I didn't transpose any numbers. And then you've got the tracking number for sure. That is the only way we have to track your answer documents. If you send these back and you realize in 4 or 5 weeks that you haven't received all your reports back yet, you call us. We're going to ask you first thing, what's the tracking number? Because that is the only way that ACT has of finding out where your reports are. So please, please, please write that down or take a picture of it. I personally like taking a picture of it, then I email it to myself with the subject line AC or PreACT tracking number, and then you can find it when you need it. Also on this, make sure that you can see there with the arrow, it says FedEx. Your documents have to be returned by FedEx in this poly mailer. So please make sure that you do that when you are finished testing. Do not throw away, excuse me, sorry, I've had allergies. Do not throw away the PreACT test booklets. These are a great resource for your teachers and for your students to use to prepare for the ACT. Lisa's going to go over a little bit about what you can do with these books for both the teachers and the students. So that will be in her part. I won't go into that, but do not throw them away. You probably have them from previous years. You can use all of them. They are an excellent resource. These things are gold. So please contact us if you would like for us to have a virtual presentation with your staff or students and parents. We would be glad to do that. In a normal year, it's in person. We travel around the state. It does not matter how far away you are. We will come there and go over this information. This year, of course, it has been virtual, and we've had some of those presentations, and it has worked fine. We're glad to do that, so you can get a hold of us for that. I'm just going to go back through a few of these reminders again. Again, the testing window this year is extended to May 28th. Do not use a PO box as your address. You need your school's physical location, even if your mailing address is a PO box. You will receive a confirmation email when you order correctly. You need to write down or take a picture of your tracking number and mail your answer documents back by FedEx, not the post office. So if you guys have a new district test coordinator, or if you have a new email, please make sure that you email one of us so that we can add you or that person to our Student Prep OK ePass listserv. That is how we send out a lot of information on PreACT and a lot of other things throughout the school year. And with that, I'm going to pass this off to Lisa. She's going to talk about some of the reports.
Thanks, Annette. Good job. On this screen, you're going to see there's a lot of different reports that are links that you can go to. If you're like, what were some of those reports? You'll be able to go back to this email and see that. I'm going to show you, if I can get my computer to work in here. Because Annette, you did give me, there we go. Here we go. Whoa, let's back up. This is a sample report of a student's school report that they receive. And if you will see the red circle, that is their composite, or that's their scores that they received, a 19 composite, and then it goes through each subject. So that shows that on their school report. The boxes, if you'll look down here, there's a dark blue line. That is their score shown on that dark blue line there. And then the red boxes that just circled, those are the PreACT benchmarks. The PreACT has changed their benchmarks. They used to have ACT benchmarks, but now they have different benchmarks. So if you're used to those previous benchmarks, please pay attention to these benchmarks. That just tells the students that they are college ready if they have met that benchmark whenever they do take that assessment. So you can see those there. And if you notice, the last one there is the STEM benchmark. And a lot of people don't realize the STEM, this is their STEM score that they made. And ACT has come up with, and this is also on the ACT that they take, if they have this is their average of their science and their math scores. And ACT is saying if they do well on this STEM benchmark on pre-ACT, if they make a 24 on this benchmark or on this pre-ACT, then they are more than likely going to do well in some college STEM field. So that's what that benchmark means, and that's what the other benchmark means. If they do score this benchmark, then they have a 50% chance of making an A or B in a college course, or a 75% chance of making a C in those college courses. So that's what the benchmarks have to do with. And if you'll see at the bottom there, my deal is a little delayed. So I have to remember that. At the bottom, it gives the kids the predicted ACT composite score range. So when a kid's taking this pre-ACT, the students are taking this, you see back up the top, you see the light blue, that is their score range. And then it's listed also on this score report in numbers, so the kids can see it a little bit more clearly, that their composite score is anywhere between a 20 and 23 on this score report. The math is anywhere between a 20 and 24. And what they're saying is, if the students continue to increase their strengths, increase their weaknesses, and continue to strive to do better, then more than likely they will make a 20 to 24 on their ACT if they took it in the same way that they took this pre-ACT. And that's why we ask the schools to, whenever you give a pre-ACT, make it just like an ACT, because we want those kids to realize that this is an important test. And it is just like the ACT. At the bottom here is a link, and you can go to that link, and it talks about the pre-ACT results. Your students receive this and encourage them to take that home and share with their parents, but you can also go on there and look at that link. At the bottom of the score report, there's the pre-ACT results, and if you'll see, there are 4 subject areas that are highlighted there. And then underneath those subject areas are topics within that. You see the math, the science, the English, and reading, and it gives those topics under that. And then also, if you see, and it's kind of small, but it says correct/total. And right here, for instance, on preparing for higher math, this student got 13 correct out of 21. So it shows more in detail of the kids. It's like, okay, obviously this isn't my strength, or it is my strength, but it gives those kids an idea of how many they got correct out of a certain number. So that's a great thing to look at for the kids. And then it also shows the percentages. On there, this is the great report. On the back side, they have an item response analysis, and this is wonderful for the kids. It tells the subject area, and then you see that in the first column, it has the question for each item, and then it has the correct answer in the second column, and then the third column where it's highlighted, that's the incorrect response. So that's the letter that the students put down. So the students can use their books and look at that to see what did I miss and why did I miss it. And over here, it has an ideas for progress, and what it does from looking at how they scored over here or what they answered over here, it gives them ideas to how they can progress and improve their scores over here on this side. And I forgot to show you on here, if you see a little hyphen there, that means that that student did not answer that question. They left it blank. This is very important for an ACT, pre-ACT. Do not leave anything blank. Encourage your students to both tests are the same, pre-ACT and ACT. The proctor is going to say the last 5 minutes, they're going to tell the group, you have 5 minutes remaining on this test. And I would always tell my kids before I ever passed out my pre-ACT, I would tell them, I'm going to say you have 5 minutes remaining on this test. When I say that, you need to just circle in your book where you are and bubble in an answer. Just find a letter and bubble it in. And then after you finish, go back to where you circled that question that you ended on and start answering them correctly. This way they have every answer completed. And the other important thing is we tell, just like Annette said, don't get rid of your test booklets. We intentionally left this as 2018, 2019, You should have these test booklets from years past. We've been doing this for pre-ACT since 2017. So use those test booklets. The teachers can take these test booklets and they can put up a question of the day when they're doing their attendance. It's a great thing. The kids can have their books for the year that they take the test. They can go through the books. The teachers like this could be a math teacher. They go through some of these test questions. They can go through 10 a day or however many they want to a day, but just to let the kids know that, hey, this is what they've done and this is where they need to continue improving their scores. Questions so far? No questions. Okay. The world of work map, this is something else that is on the pre-administration part that Annette talked about on doing the day before. And on this one, this is what I always tell my kids, it's 72 questions. I tell them, think long, think wrong, you know, and I snap my fingers and I said, that's how quick you need to answer those questions. Do you like to build birdhouses? Do you like to explore science museums? And it's not about, can they do it? It's would they like to? Do they have any type of interest? So after that 72 question, ACT takes it up and they figure out this world of work map, and it's separated into different parts: data, things, ideas, and people. And from those questions they asked, they have worked out this world of work map. And we always tell the kids, if it's a region 99, if that is all colored in blue like this, but it's colored right here, then that means they couldn't figure out what those kids wanted, or the kids left it blank, or they answered do not like or are unsure or whatever. So we try to tell them to answer every question and just do it quickly. And then this talks about the different jobs that they can go to, and they can use this and go to the OK College Start, our OK College Start portal, and go in and find that career that they've got the dark blue in, and see if those are careers they're still interested in. Another thing on here, I'm trying to get through this because I know we're short on time here.
You're good.
Profile for success. This, it tells you, it gives the predicted ACT composite score for the student. And then it says, and I wish I had it up here, but I don't, but on their report, it tells them that they looked in, like this one says management. They thought that management was the thing that they wanted to do, but come to find out, maybe they weren't good with management. Maybe they want to do something else. But right here, it says that this one, it says successful college students and majors related to this career area often have an ACT composite score. So it gives them the composite score that they need for whatever area that they said they thought they were interested in. And they can compare that score with this score on their predicted ACT. The career interest fit, that's what that is. It's saying whether it's a medium fit, a low fit, or a high fit, comparing to whatever their ACTs, whatever they said they wanted to do, and whatever their interests were here on this career world of work map. This is an educator report. We're through at the students' school reports, and this is an educator report that we do. We come out to your schools and talk about. It's called the frequency distribution chart, and I've just done it and blown it up a little bit. If you look on the left-hand side, that gives all the scores of the pre-ACT. The highest score on a pre-ACT is a 35. The highest score on an ACT is a 36. So very similar. And if you look here with the red boxes, this is a frequency. So what this is this is telling you how many kids scored. For instance, right here on the, well, let's go over to the math. Right here on the math, we have one kid that scored a 26 in math. We have several kids down here that scored, and 8 kids scored a 17. But this is what that frequency distribution chart is. And right here on this report, these are the ACT benchmarks. I think I've got those. So this is what the ACT benchmark looks like. And as I said, on the pre-ACT report, we haven't been able to see one of those new ones since they've just changed the pre-ACT benchmarks. But this is something that we've used in the past. So these are the ACT benchmarks that you're seeing there. But it does tell you the number of kids that scored a certain score on that distribution table. And if you can break this table down just a little bit more, look to see, in this example, there were 43 sophomores that were tested. This was a sample deal. And if you'll look up here above the benchmark, here's that 22 ACT benchmark. It says 19 students scored at or above the benchmark. Hey, they're on the ball. They know what they're doing. They've got it down. You don't have to worry about those kids. There's 5 kids right here. And you see these little marks over here. And I forgot to show them on the previous page, but they're a little bit easier to see here. Light gray and medium gray and a darker gray. These 5 are just right below the benchmark. And you're like, okay, those kids, we can really push. We can push them even extra hard, and they should be able to get above the benchmark. And then you've got some right below that, that's in this kind of a darker gray right here. And we call that they're on the cusp. So there's 8 students that are on this cusp. And with some extra work with these students, they could score probably above the benchmark in this. And this is on the reading deal. We can just work it extra harder to get those kids above that benchmark or closer to that benchmark. And then down below in the darker gray right here, these are the students that are in need of intervention. So there are several students, you can see what their score is. And it's like, okay, we need to really work on these kids to try to get them even up to the cusp area. So then you're like, okay, but Lisa, who are these kids? Well, guess what? There's a report for you that shows your kids. There are early intervention rosters, and there are several of them. This is just one example. It has all the kids. Remember, this is a sample report. It has all the kids that you've listed because you've told those kids way back when in the pre-administration that they need to mark at least one area where they need help. Do they need help in speech? Do they need help with their reading, writing, math? What do they need help with? And if you'll have them mark that they need help with that, then they will come back to you on this report. Every kid listed will come back to you on this report. And on this report, it will give you every kid's score. There's a composite, there's the math, science, English, and reading. So it gives you every score for each subject area. And then over here, this is just one of the reports. As I said, we can't get to these reports, so we have to use a sample to show you. It shows how many years of coursework that the kids plan to take. And you can see, you know, when it says science, well, in Oklahoma, they've got to have 3 sciences, not 2.5. So you can talk with the kids about the coursework that they choose or they have to have and their requirements. And over here are their educational plans. So you can look at kids that if they're whatever they said they're going to do, and then you look over here and they've got their composite and they've got these scores that are high, you know, then you can talk to the kids about the different careers that they could go into. And again, they could go onto OK College Start Portal and look at some of those different careers that they might be interested in. All right, then what we do. So we know the numbers, how many kids have scored a certain score. We know who has scored those scores. Now it's like, what are we going to do about it? Well, this is another report that you receive as a school, and it's called the Item Response Summary Report. And if you'll look on here, it says the asterisk is the correct answer. Well, first off, sorry, let me go through this. If you'll look on here, the item number is in this first column, okay? And you notice that they are not in numerical order. So it's whatever that question has asked, whatever question and whatever topic it has to deal with is they're grouped together. And if you look over here on the far right side, you can see how many kids have omitted or left a question blank. And it tells you, so here's the kids, the number of kids, and you can see there's the question number was number 26. Look at number 30, there were 5. 36, you can see it was getting more to the end of the test, and you had all these kids leaving it blank because obviously they didn't get time to finish it. So that's where, tell them, I'm going to tell you 5 minutes remain on this test. So mark every question, and then they can go back if there's time allowed and answer the questions. On this, we come out, and well, right now we will do it virtually. We'll be happy to do a session with you virtually with your staff and talk about these reports. We can also do a virtual with your parents and your students about their school report. But these are for your educators, for your staff. And we always ask, I know everybody says, well, this is for the 10th grade. Yes, it is. However, the ACT standards are standards or skills, what we call them, that deal with back to kindergarten. So we would like to have all the staff attend these so they can do a curriculum alignment, if you will. With these, we come out and the asterisk is the correct answer, but we have a color coding activity that we do with your staff to show, and the staff can look at it instantly by saying, oh, they know this. Oh boy, these pinks, pink, I love pink, but we put it at the bottom deal. And Carrie Lausch made this up years ago, back when she worked for the Regents. And she said she just chose the colors that were available at whenever she went to buy them. So we've just stuck with this because this is something that we've worked with schools for years. So the schools can look at it instantly to go, these are some questions that we really need to work on with these students. I know that has a lot. What they do, the teachers, after they've talked on this, they look at their book, the test booklet. And what we tell teachers to do when they're doing this color coding activity is we tell them to go in, and number 31, it is, and let me go back here, right here. Number 31, question number 31 has to do with 25 to 49%. So we tell them to highlight this. Don't highlight what the answer is, or mark what the answer is, because if they screenshot this or copy and paste this, they can put it on the board for a question of the day, and the teacher instantly knows, oh, wait a minute, that the majority of my kids got this wrong, so we need to talk about it. And you can see over here from the item response summary that 33% got it right. So then if you want to, in your book or whatever, oops, I keep going the wrong way, you can always put down, you can mark on your book what the correct answer is, or the teachers can. But what I always do whenever I was working with my kids on this, I would go through and I would read this part of it. And because you have time to read it, you can work with the kids and say, okay, let's read through this in these different ways. And a lot of kids, it's like, yeah, we want to see what sounds right, because that's what kids' first thought is. But then the teacher can go into the teaching part of it on, is it an adverb, adjective? Is it punctuation? What is it that has to do with this question that's being asked? Hopefully that makes sense. What we also do is when we come out and when we talk about these standards, we share curriculum review worksheets. And this is the English curriculum review worksheet. And if you'll see on here, and I think I forgot to talk about score bands earlier, this is a score band. So on the ACT, it comes up with score ranges, if you will. I call them score bands, but they're score ranges. So whenever you see an ACT poster, and there's a place that you can order those. If you have questions about it, just let us know and we'll show you where those are. But on the posters, it has score ranges, 13 to 15, 16 to 19, and it goes all the way up to the 36 for the ACT. So what we do is we take these to teachers and we show this and say, okay, all of these skills right here are in the 13 to 15 score band on the English part of the ACT. So that way, whenever they're going back to their item response summary and they see that the majority of their kids scored a 14, then those kids are here. They haven't got this mastered. This isn't something that they've gotten embedded, but they're working on it. And what we tell schools is, as a group, we get them to work with their English group, their English department, the math group, get the math teachers and the math department to work together and just divide them up that way. And they talk about it. Is this included in your English curriculum? What grade level do you expect? Do you introduce it? And then I'd like to change this wording to, is it embedded? When do you expect to demonstrate proficiency? And it's like, your fourth grade teachers are, well, yeah, guys, look at this first one, delete material because it is obviously irrelevant in terms of the topic of the essay. If your teachers would really get into this, they could really converse about, when do we expect this to be embedded? When do we expect that the kids, they know it? Because if you've been in the classroom, you know that whenever you say something to a student, you say, I know you learned this back in whatever grade, they'll go, I've never heard of it. Oh, yes, you have. And So it's got to be embedded in these kids, and that's the important part. But that's where teachers got to realize it's not a whole lot to look at on this part in particular, on the scores range from 13 to 15. But there are English curriculum review worksheets, math, science, and reading, and also writing for the students and for the teachers to look at. Excuse me, for the teachers, not students. This is where they are located. Again, you are welcome to go there and look at those, and they're called curriculum review worksheets that I just showed you. And then there's also standards that explain what these are, the topic of development, organization, knowledge, and it explains all of this. This too has to do with the 13 to 15 range. So on this website, this explains more in detail on the college and career readiness standards. Wow, I talk fast. Questions, comments, concerns? Annette, we don't have any questions.
I'm going to take back control of
Okay.
there if I can.
Anybody have any questions? None?
Are you holding on to it?
Nope. Because there's, if you know me, I'm one of these that I like to end in fun. So, good friends are like stars. You don't always see them, but they're always there. And that's what we want you to know about the student prep team. You may not always see us, but we're always there to help you. So you just contact us anytime. We'll be happy to help you. There's our email address, our phone numbers go to our phones. So you can call that even though we're not in the office, but they do go to our cell phones. So if you all ever have any questions or any comments, please don't hesitate to contact us and let us know.
Absolutely.
No other questions?
Deborah said thanks for the information. It's always good. She loves the color coding. The color coding is an excellent activity, just
Yes.
because when you look at that item response summary report, it's tons and tons and tons of numbers, but the color coding actually helps you walk through each of those things and kind of make sense of it in a way that is much more usable for people. In my opinion, I'm sure there's some people who could look at that and in seconds know what to do with it, but a lot of us need to work through it. And that color coding activity gives you a good process to make that actually a usable and helpful report. And it can really, show your teachers what skills your entire sophomore class is struggling with as a whole. And then, as Lisa said, they're meeting together vertically in departments. And, they can go back to the book and say, okay, we get it. That's a trigonometry question. So obviously, they haven't had it yet. That's why they didn't get it. But if it's an Algebra 1 question, they should have mastered that, maybe a year or two before. That's something that might need to be looked at. And that is something that we talk to teachers about. A lot of the questions like in math are Algebra 1. Well, the students when they're taking this they're not taking algebra. It's been a year or two since they've had algebra. So doing those questions of the day and using the PreACT books help those just, stay in the students' minds so that they do see those occasionally, even though they're not in that class anymore.
And get ready for the ACT, because it even goes down to elementary algebra. And that's where a lot of kids haven't had that for a long time. So
yes,
definitely. Okay. Well, thank you all so very much for coming. We appreciate you spending the time with us, and we just hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yes, and feel free to get a hold of us if you need to. But it looks like we don't have any questions, so we'll let you guys go and give you the gift of an extra 10 minutes. And you guys have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.